Greetings. I am Dr. Unique Morris Hughes, Director of the DC Department of Employment Services. On behalf of Mayor Muriel Bowser, thank you for joining us for our weekly Wellness Wednesday, hosted by the Office of Paid Family Leave. The Bowser administration has created various platforms to bring awareness to and promote health and wellness while continuously working to close the gap in health disparities, especially in minority communities. This extends to DC's paid family leave program as we ensure families don't feel the burden of choosing between their job security and caring for themselves and their families. We have created this virtual engagement platform that will feature local experts who will discuss various topics around health, fitness, and overall wellness. Our paid family leave team are on hand to offer wellness tips and preventive care guidance. For questions about benefits and how to apply, visit dcpaidfamilyleave.dc.gov or give us a call at our contact center at 202-899-3700. Be well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Jessica Lazerov, and I'm excited to partner with the DC Office of Employment Services, Office of Paid Family Leave. With DC's paid family leave, eligible workers can receive 3 different types of leave: 8 weeks of parental leave, 6 weeks of family leave, and 2 weeks of medical leave. My goal is to help DC families be as healthy as possible, which is why this benefit is so important. But first, a little bit about me. I'm a pediatrician in Anacostia, and I've been practicing in DC for over 15 years. I have 2 kids of my own, and I know that kids and life can disrupt our sleep, sometimes quite a bit. I've never seen a new parent that isn't tired from time to time from not getting enough sleep. And so I want to talk today about how the whole family can get better quality sleep and just how important sleep is to our overall health. Primary care providers like me are here to help your child be as healthy as possible, and getting more rest is a huge part of that. So today, there are a few things that I want to talk about. First, I want to talk about why sleep is so important. I also want to talk about how our body clock and sleep cycles work and what happens in our bodies when we sleep. We'll also discuss a little bit about how much sleep we need for optimal health and a few common sleep issues in kids and what to do about them. Let's be honest, not many people like to think much about the details of sleep, and thinking about it may even make you a little sleepy, right? Many people wish they got more sleep or wish their kids would sleep better. Learning more about the ins and outs of sleep can really help us take steps to get more of it. It's pretty remarkable that humans spend 1/3 of their lives sleeping. That's 8 full hours in a 24-hour day, a huge chunk of time, with our eyes closed, not doing much, and unaware of what's around us. As a species, there are so many other things we could be doing with this time. As we evolved, in order to survive, humans needed to gather food, protect ourselves and our families, and many other things. And we can't do any of that when we're snoozing away. This fact alone really tells us that sleep is a critical function that our body needs to do to stay healthy. And even today, we're still learning more about just how important that sleep function is. If you look to the rest of the animal kingdom, virtually every species sleeps, humans included. What's interesting is that when we sleep, we let our protective defenses down. We're vulnerable. So you might ask yourself, why would our bodies require us to sleep? Everything that happens in our bodies and our brains when we sleep is so important that it's worth any of the downsides. Sleep affects almost every single body system, including our brain, which supports our learning, memory, and mental health, our immune system, which is our ability to fight off infections and certain cancers. Sleep also affects our metabolism and how well our body can manage our blood sugar and maintain an optimal weight. Even our heart, blood pressure, and our risk of chronic illness can all be affected by the amount and quality of the sleep that we get. A sleeping person's brain and body are actually hard at work. So let's talk a little bit about our body clock, also called the circadian rhythm. Did you know that our body and many of the tiny cells that make up our organs have an internal clock? Our body knows what time it is and acts accordingly based on when the sun rises and falls. Our body clock determines our temperature, blood pressure, and our alertness, as well as our coordination, muscle strength, wound healing, and even when we use the bathroom. The part of our brain that acts as our 24-hour clock sits right behind our eyes, and that's not a coincidence. The strongest cue for our body clock is light, specifically daylight. When our eyes see sunlight in the morning, it reinforces our body clock. Our body also senses when nighttime and bedtime is coming and does a few things to get us ready, such as by making melatonin. Yes, the stuff that's similar to what you could buy in a store is actually free because our brain makes its own to alert us that we need to get ready for sleep. One common misconception is that melatonin puts us to sleep like a sleeping pill. I hate to break it to you, but it doesn't work that way. Melatonin is just a substance our body uses to send a signal to our brain and body that sleep is coming. We need to do the rest. So back to the body clock. We'll talk more about this later, but something that can really confuse our body clock is the light that we get from screens, such as computers, smartphones, and TVs. So let's dig in a little bit deeper about what sleep looks like. We all know people who are awake 1 minute and seem to be fast asleep the next. But wakefulness and sleep are not operated by an on-off switch. Sleep is not all the same. Our body goes through multiple sleep cycles every night, and these cycles typically last about an hour and a half or 90 minutes. But during those repeating 90-minute cycles, we go through multiple stages of sleep, some that are light and others that are deep sleep. We also experience what's known as REM sleep, or rapid eye movement, seen in orange. What many people don't know is that each one of these sleep stages, both REM and non-REM sleep, are important for your health. In fact, we're just beginning to learn all of the different ways sleep is crucial for overall health and wellness. You might notice that this chart shows you how a typical person might go through the different stages of sleep, but that each sleep cycle is not the same. You might notice that early on in the night, we have less deep sleep and less time in REM sleep. As the night progresses, you may have deeper sleep as well as more REM sleep until you wake for the day. So now that we know that sleep is not just an on-off switch and it's actually pretty complicated, what exactly happens during sleep that helps to support all of these crucial body systems? Non-REM sleep, depending on the phase, has different levels of sleep depth. It's the time when we make more storage space for the memories that we've acquired throughout the day, and when we restore and repair many of our body, brain, and functions. Non-REM sleep is when our brain makes something called sleep spindles, which allows us to remember what we saw, learned, and experienced during the day. In fact, the more deep non-REM sleep that you get, the better you'll remember details from the day before, a month, a year, or 30 years later. Non-REM sleep sorts through your day and stores memories that are important and discards ones that are not. Non-REM sleep also helps us build what's known as muscle memory, such as motor skills and physical activities. When we get adequate sleep, we perform better in our jobs, schools, and sports with better speed and accuracy. REM sleep, the deeper sleep, is actually really interesting. If you look at your brain waves during REM sleep, your brain is incredibly active, very similar to when you're awake. The difference is that our muscles are off. REM sleep is also where dreams occur. We all know this because when we wake up, we might feel like we were just in a dream, and that's probably because we were. REM sleep has been shown to be involved in creativity and processing emotional things that have happened in the recent and distant past, and lowering the stress levels associated with those experiences. REM sleep also allows us to better control our emotions and recalibrate how we interact with others, notice facial expressions, and interpret people's actions. So REM sleep makes us better social beings. Teens often have more REM sleep than others as they're coming into their own and experiencing the world and all the emotions that come with it in those years. But we should know that both types of sleep are important. Our memories are strengthened by non-REM sleep, and REM sleep can help us work through these memories and perhaps put them together in ways that we didn't while we were awake. That's how REM sleep boosts creativity, which isn't just about painting a masterpiece or writing a novel. Creativity happens throughout our days as we try and navigate the world and come up with new solutions to problems that we might face. So now let's go back to this image of a typical sleep night. Let's imagine that you go to bed late and still need to wake up for work or school at a certain time in the morning. You don't lose all types of sleep equally. You still need to go through all of the phases of sleep, non-REM and REM, and in those 90-minute sleep cycles. And those phases and cycles need to happen in order. This means that your body experiences only part of the healthy sleep that it needs. By going to bed late, you can lose more than half of your REM sleep or more. Our REM sleep, which is our deepest sleep, happens more towards the early morning hours. This REM sleep will be cut off if we wake up before completing all of the recommended sleep cycles and phases. We just learned that all of the parts of sleep are important. So if you ever wonder why you or your child might be grumpy, it could be because somebody didn't have enough REM sleep to strengthen our emotional control. That's just one example of how our brain and body will suffer in one way or another without adequate sleep, far more than just being tired. So now that we talked about all of the important work your body does while it sleeps, let me answer a question I get a lot from parents, which is, how much sleep does my child need? Well, our sleep needs fall within a range, and that range changes depending on their age. Newborns generally need 14 to 17 hours of sleep, which is often split into shorter naps with periods of wakefulness throughout the day and night. Newborns and young babies often sleep more during the day than they do at night. And some think this is because when a mom is pregnant with a baby, they tend to be up and walking around more during the daytime, effectively rocking a baby to sleep. And then at nighttime, babies will wake up and kick more, just as you're laying down to go to bed yourself. It's sort of like your baby has been working nights before they're born. It can take some time for them to get back to a normal sleep schedule. Infants between 4 and 11 months need slightly less sleep, between 12 and 15 hours, also often split up with naps and nighttime wakenings, though that does decrease as they get older. Toddlers between 1 and 2 years need about 11 to 14 hours per day, and preschoolers from 3 to 5 years old, they need about 10 to 13 hours, and generally naps become less frequent and eventually disappear in this age range. School-age kids from 6 to 13 years need about 9 to 11 hours of sleep, meaning that we really need to be good about getting them to bed at a decent hour, especially for those with early school start times. Teenagers need about 8 to 10 hours per night, but they often get far less than that because of school and social demands. It's true that teens tend to want to go to bed later than kids and even adults, and this can be a normal shift for them. But if their schedule is such that they have to get up early, we need to enforce a good bedtime to allow them to get 8 hours of sleep. Adults need about 7 to 9 hours, and seniors above age 65 need about 7 to 8 hours. Seniors often have a lot of sleep problems, and some people think that brain problems that tend to affect older people might stem from problems that come from not enough quality sleep. You can also see that the amount of REM sleep and non-REM sleep changes depending on age. So now let's talk about a few common sleep issues that parents ask me about. The first time is when kids wake up at night. This happens a lot, especially in the newborn period, which we already talked about. Once your baby is 4 to 6 months old, they may be able to sleep through the night. As your baby slowly begins to not require overnight feedings, they may still continue to wake up. We all wake up from time to time between our sleep cycles, noted here with green arrows, and we eventually learn to go back to sleep on our own. We can help our babies and kids and ourselves to get back to sleep easily by avoiding turning on lights, not using smartphones, tablets, or TVs, and keeping the environment dark and quiet. If every time your child wakes up, they need you to rock them back to sleep, that's not great for you or your child's sleep. So if you have any concerns about how to improve your child's sleep, talk to your pediatrician. Another common issue we see is sleep avoidance, meaning that kids don't want to go to sleep sometimes. Much of the time, we can address this by looking at the home environment and the parents' reactions when a child refuses or avoids sleep. Sometimes when kids go to bed, the rest of the household continues on with their normal activities. Sometimes these nighttime activities are appealing to kids. They want to be with parents and other family members, and they also may want to watch TV or do other things they really enjoy. So try to make sure that your child's sleep area is quiet and dark to allow for good sleep. I know it can be very frustrating as parents when kids refuse to sleep, but strong emotions directed towards our kids can make it even harder for them to fall asleep. So just be aware of that. Sometimes enforcing a bedtime just means that their lights are low and their room is quiet. Kids can look in a book or entertain themselves quietly as they fall asleep. Also, make sure that your child is not looking at any screens like phones, tablets, or TVs within 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. And we'll talk a bit more about this very soon. I also want to remind everyone that caffeine can affect us more than we know, and this includes kids. Certain foods and drinks other than coffee do have caffeine, such as certain sodas, many teas, including iced tea, energy drinks, and chocolate. So though I recommend avoiding caffeine for kids and teens altogether, if your child has any sleep issues at all, really look hard at what they're eating and drinking throughout the day, especially in the afternoon and evening. Kids also learn what's expected from them at bedtime and what's not. We're all social creatures and learn to behave in a way that works as part of our family. Kids are really no different, even though sometimes the opposite might seem true. If kids know that every single night at a certain time that sleep is what happens next, they tend to get that routine. They can sense what's next with certain cues, such as the amount of light around them, what family members are doing, and other activities that might be going on. But if every night is different and their environment changes frequently, or if their eating or other schedules are off, this can really affect their sleep, just like it would affect ours. So what can we do to help our child sleep better? Well, when they're babies, put them to sleep when they are drowsy but not yet asleep. Imagine if you fell asleep in one place and woke up somewhere else and without that cuddly person who was rocking you. Because we all wake up from time to time, babies and kids need to learn how to put themselves back to sleep. Believe me, if every time I woke up, I got a snack and got to watch TV and a loved one would rock me back to sleep, I might start waking up at night too. Also, kids really do well with routines, and that includes a bedtime routine. Our brains start to learn what to expect. So if giving your baby a bath, singing a song, and then going to a dimly lit room is your bedtime routine, your baby will come to expect that the next time, and they may actually get drowsy and begin to want to go to sleep. They may even feel sleepy when they hear their bedtime song. Also, using blackout shades, especially in the summer months when the sun is up for more hours during the day, and limiting noise in the areas close to where your child's sleep is helpful. This includes having no screens available or on in the room where your child is sleeping. Also, be sure toddlers and kids are active during the day. We've all seen kids sleep very well after an active day. Plus, physical activity is important for so many other reasons. Just try to limit vigorous activity just before bedtime because it can be activating. One routine that we've found helps with sleep is the brush, book, bed routine. Brushing teeth twice per day is important to prevent tooth decay, and so adding this into the bedtime routine is a great idea. Many people also feel that a bath is helpful to get our body temperature lower, which helps us sleep better. Even washing hands and faces can be helpful to bringing our body temperature down a bit. Sleeping in a slightly cool room rather than a warm one can also help us sleep better. Reading a book together is a great way to have one-on-one time, and it's great for learning, and many kids really look forward to this time in the day, especially when they know that screens are not allowed before bedtime. And because this issue is just so important, let's talk more about it. So you've heard me mention a few times now how using smartphones, tablets, computers, and TVs can affect our sleep. We already talked about melatonin, that substance that our own brain releases every evening to help us prepare for sleep. The problem with screens is that the wavelength of light that they produce, called blue light, is particularly powerful in shifting our body's circadian rhythm or body clock, which we already mentioned. This shift prevents our body from following its normal schedule, and that includes how it makes and releases melatonin. When our eyes look at a screen with blue light, our body clock resets it to a later schedule, basically giving us jet lag. It also changes what stages of sleep we reach and how long we're there, actually reducing REM sleep. That means that our body is not getting all of that good stuff that comes with good sleep. So that means for my family, I actually recommend shutting off all screens at least 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. No TikTok before bed or watching one more YouTube video. Screens before bed sets us up for lower quality sleep, and it's just not worth it. I recommend something called a digital curfew. That means powering down all electronics and taking them out of kids' rooms so that kids can stay on their natural body clock. We know a lot of kids are doing virtual learning on screens during the coronavirus pandemic. So do try to have your kids do their assignments that require a computer or screen earlier in the day. And if they really can't avoid looking at a screen before bedtime, dim the screen brightness, use dark mode or night shift, or get a screen protector that can help block some of the blue light. Another tip is to dim lights in the home at dusk, especially if you have light bulbs that are very bright. Well, I couldn't talk this long about sleep and not mention how to make sleep as safe as possible, especially for babies. Babies 6 months and under are at risk for something called SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome. SIDS is a sudden unexplained death in an infant. We're not exactly sure how SIDS happens, but we do know that certain things can increase a baby's risk. Babies who are put to sleep on their stomach or side, those that sleep on a soft surface or with blankets or pillows, and babies that co-sleep in a parent's bed have a higher risk of SIDS. When babies sleep on their backs only in a crib or bassinet with a firm mattress without any bumpers or pillows or toys or loose blankets, they are far less likely to suffer from SIDS. I often hear from parents that their baby prefers to sleep on their stomach. I get it, I really do. As we talked about before, getting enough sleep is important for us parents too. And when our baby sleeps better, we sleep better. But even knowing this, I still recommend that for all babies under 6 months, the only safe way for them to sleep is on their back, period. Make sure anyone who cares for your baby also adheres to this as well. So that's all for now. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned a little bit more about just how important sleep is to our health and well-being. If you have questions or concerns about your child's sleep, definitely reach out to your child's pediatrician. I've included a list of resources here with information about keeping your child healthy and safe and about sleep. The DC Department of Paid Family Leave is also here to help your family weather the financial hardships that often come with personal or family illness or when a new baby comes. So please reach out to them if you have questions about your eligibility. So take care, everyone, and sleep well.